Hello, welcome on in. It's Betting Weekly Game Bet Match, number one tennis betting podcast and YouTube show brought to you in association with Bet Rivers, your hometown sportsbook. I am Nigel Seeley, and joining me to look ahead to the second round action over here in Paris at the French Open is our senior ATP Tour handicapper. It is Sean Calvert. Before I introduce you to Sean, something I always ask you to do, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like, give us a comment, but most importantly, ring that bell, be notified of every time any bit of content drops here on what is the fastest growing sports betting YouTube channel. Good morning to you, Sean. How are you, mate?
Stressed as usual.
Oh, yep. Oh dear. What's happened now? What's happened now?
Well, the car's decided to pack up, which is not ideal on a Sunday before a bank holiday, Monday before obviously half term. I've got a ferry lagging around all over the place. I've had to get taxis and all sorts. There's all sorts going on here. Yeah, this is typical French Open. You asked me before the start of the French Open, am I excited? And I was like, well, not really, because bad stuff always happens during the French Open, and it's it's very difficult to find any underdog winners, as I'll talk about in a minute. But apart from that, I'm all right. Yeah.
Well, that is it. Your personal life, your work life, that's more or less that. So you're not, well, apart from that, you're happy. So what are you happy about? What is making Mr. Cav happy then?
It's a good question. I'll come back to you on that later on in the show if I can think of something.
I think something that makes you happy. I'm over here in Paris. The weather's not great. A bit windy today, overcast, a bit dull.
How was your one match?
Well, that's the only thing that's made me unhappy. The cost of paying €320 to watch one match on a Grand Slam evening session. I think it's a disgrace.
€100 a set?
Yeah, €100 a set, yeah. And the third set was quite good. Obviously, a chance of a comeback, but there was all massive amount going on at one of the outside courts where the French players were playing. It was incredible noise coming from there.
Yeah.
Like a football match, but that was dull. It was just the organizer needs to sort that out, because to pay that kind of money and have one match is wrong. You should have the women's match first, then the French, then the evening session. And you know what? It started at 8:15, so the crowd were coming in at 8:15. They didn't let you into Philippe Chatrier court till 8:05.
Okay. I guess they've got to clear out the day session people if there's any still lingering.
Yeah, but Gasquet finished at least an hour and half hour before. But 10 minutes before. So when the first set was on, there was no one in the arena.
Yeah, you probably don't want to get me started on the French Open. We'll probably do the whole show.
Very busy. It's a small area, very, very busy. But I like Paris. Paris is a good city. Traffic's a nightmare. But anyway, it is a good city. And unfortunately, yesterday we've had a bad. Well, let's start with the good news. The good news is almost 4,000 people watched out. 4,000 views on our first round show, which compared to last year's French Open, 2,200 watched the first round show, almost 4,000 you. So thank you very much for that. Really, really good numbers, encouraging numbers. But the bad news is we got off to a bad start. And I'm sorry that I talked you into betting Ferry as an official player. I apologise for that.
Yeah, you see, you've talked me into one there, which is unfortunate. But it's unfortunate that the most people are watching in the show the 2 weeks where it's statistically by far the worst 2 weeks you could possibly get in tennis betting as far as underdog winners are concerned. I mean, there's only 17% that have won so far. 17%. I think there's been 44 matches, I think. I think in completed matches, I think there's been 7 underdog winners. You can probably count Gasquet off that list because he was playing a guy that couldn't move. So yeah, there's been basically half a dozen underdog winners in the first 2 days, 44 matches. I did say this. This is the main reason why, when you ask me if I'm excited for the French Open, the answer is generally not really, because it's so difficult to find any value. We did find one with Altmaier. Going on, you basically were trying to say that he could win the whole match, and I was a bit more circumspect. So if I'd listened to you on that one, we would have got a better winner. But we still got a very good winner with Altmaier. He's the biggest underdog, apart from obviously Diallo, who beat a woeful Cerundolo in the first round. This happens all the time. You get a 25-1 winner the previous week, and then you're outright losers in the first round the next week. That is virtually guaranteed when you're talking about tennis betting. That happens all the time. So yeah, the French Open is great that we've got this many viewers, but it is extremely difficult to find any value in this tournament.
Would there be, I mean, it's a question that's been raised many times in the comments, and I've raised it before in the past with you.
Yeah.
Would there be a sort of an argument to make maybe change the way you approach the betting in terms of the French Open and other sorts? If you think there's a favourite that represents some value who might be minus 120 and you make him a minus 150, would it be
Yes.
something that you might want to? Would that ever cross your mind
Yes.
thinking about doing something like that?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, it doesn't have to be an underdog. I'm not sitting here saying I must back underdog. I'm saying I must back value. But yes, there can definitely be a value if the favourite's priced up at, say, I don't know, 1.8, and I think it should be more like 1.6. Then yeah, absolutely. But that very rarely happens.
Especially in round one.
Yeah, I mean, it just doesn't happen that often these days. Maybe in a few years ago, but several years ago. But in this day and age, it's very rare that you will find errors like that, particularly in the French Open, because it is over 5 sets. It is a very, very true test of skill and ability, and obviously the longer you play, the more likely that it is that the favourite wins. But the short answer is yes. If I can see value in a favourite, I think it's been priced up, too big or whatever, then yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you want to follow some extra content at Because We'll Be on our socials, I'm over in Paris for another couple of days. Give you some information, any in-play bets. I'll give you some videos in the morning. Weather forecast, I'll say the weather's not great. It looks like it's going to rain. It's very windy, really
Tomorrow?
windy. It was windy last night, really windy. Tomorrow's going to rain?
It says a chance of rain on my weather forecast. It says cloudy, chance of rain around about 18 degrees. So kind of the same as what we've seen so far. I've got some stats and stuff if you want me to quickly go through those.
Yes, please.
Stats are saying it's just slightly quicker so far than normal. It's slightly strange, these stats. It says 78% holds of serve and 69.6% first serve points won. Now, the average is 69% first serve points won, so a tiny bit quicker, but only 75% hold. So there's been 3 points more holds so far, but that is only after 44 games. I would suggest from those stats just a tiny bit quicker than average. But obviously it's weather dependent. If it warms up, it'll get quicker. If it rains, it'll slow down. So we're very much dependent on the weather conditions. As far as round 2 is concerned, no surprise really. It's even worse than round 1. Average is only 20% underdog winners. Last year, only 4 out of 32 won in round 2. So I'm highlighting this because people will probably say, "Oh, why aren't you having more bets?" The reason I'm not having more bets is because it has to be value for me to bet it. If it's not value, then I'm not doing it, and that is why this tournament is very difficult for me. I've already talked about underdogs, only 17% so far, so that's kind of where we're at the minute.
It's interesting you say there that it's playing a little bit quicker. I had this conversation with Mitch Michaels, who's one of our presenters on Betting Weekly Tennis Live, and he's across all the world of tennis. He's doing many different podcasts.
Yeah.
He does a lot of stuff with ex-players. He does a podcast with Jimmy Connors, his son, and he's a player that I think we have probably a little bit more of a better betting background than him, but he's very, very on the ball in terms of the world of tennis. And he believes that the reason why it's quicker is the technology of the rackets, that slow courts now, they can hit the ball harder through the court, and that he thinks will get quicker because of the technology with the way that the rackets are now.
You mean generally in tennis, not
generally? Yeah. I mean, if you look at stats, he reckons they're going to get quicker and quicker. The courts will get quicker and quicker and quicker because technology is better for the players.
Well, they'll just slow down the courts then. I think that the problem is that, as I've said before, every tournament is its own entity. Rotterdam doesn't care what happens in Los Cabos or whatever. They'll just do whatever they want to do to make themselves a profitable tournament. And the vast majority of tournament directors want it slower. They don't want to see very, very quick matches. They want bums on seats, don't they? They want people there for longer. This is the whole argument that we've been having for years and years and years. They just, if the racket technology is going to get better, all they'll do is slow down the courts or slow down the balls. There's so many variables. I mean, the balls they use here, they use Wilson balls here, and they've used Dunlop for the majority, if not all, of the clay court swing so far. Then they moved to Wilson balls, but that hasn't caused any problems apart from Cerundolo. That hasn't caused any problems because there's still been hardly any underdog winners, so the players haven't found it difficult to switch balls. But there's so many things you can do. It's all up to the tournament at the end of the day. I'm not as clued up as Mitch is in terms of his contacts in the tennis industry and whatever, but if that's the case, they're making the rackets quicker, then the strings quicker and all that. They're just going to change things, the tournaments will just say, right, I'm using these really slow balls, and if you're going to do that, so it's a complicated thing.
The one thing you can do to get more bums on seats is not charge €160.
Well, everyone's doing this now.
Ticket to get for one match.
Everyone's doing this split day session and night session. I mean, I'm no massive fan of Wimbledon, but they don't do that there. Don't think they do anyway. Pretty sure they don't. My tickets, I think I've got tickets for centre court on one day, I think, and number 2 on the other. The ticket's the ticket. They don't split it. They don't say, right, you lot are going out at 6 o'clock. You lot are coming in at 7 o'clock. They don't do that. But I mean, as I said, if you can start me on the French Open, and I could be here all day with my criticism of that particular tournament. But that is a con, isn't it? Let's not beat around the bush. It's one match, which it could have been worse as well. Imagine if it was Sinner. I mean, it was Rinderknecht, a French guy, but if it was Sinner against, I don't know, Emilio Nava or something, and it he blew him out in about an hour and 10 minutes. Where's the value in that? I don't see it.
Well, it is what it is. Let's move on, and we're going to move on today. We're on the comeback trail. We're going to make money. We're going to turn this around. Bad start, but obviously
we're unlucky with some of them.
2 weeks to go. We've got 2 weeks to go.
Senego should have won.
Yeah, should have won. Anyway, we don't worry about that. That's yesterday. Today's a new day. Let's move on to tomorrow. Marton Fucsovics against Tommy Paul is our first match we are going to discuss. This one's quite an interesting match from a betting perspective, but Tommy Paul's a big, heavy favourite, which surprises me. Finest minus 560. Marton Fucsovics is more than capable on a good day, if he has a good day, on clay to get a result. $4 here. The spread, I can't read the handicap. I think it's 6.5. Can't read it on the screen.
I think that's 6.5, yeah.
Yeah, I need to get my eyes tested. 36.5 the total as well. They have met each other 3 times previously. Fucsovics leads 2-1 in the head-to-head, and yet he's a big outsider here. The only time they met on clay was way back in 2016, but the most, which Tommy Paul won, ironically. But in 2021 in Rotterdam was the last time they played, and Fucsovics won 6-4, 6-3. So they have played a lot 3 times before. It was a long time ago. Both of them were quite impressive. I think the win for Fucsovics over Schoolgate was really impressive. 3 sets to love. Tommy Paul lost the opening set against Muller and then came back and won 3-1. Money all day and all that. Since the lines come out for Tommy Paul, he's been bet heavily. I think this might be a little bit closer than that 6.5 suggests.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd be backing Tommy Paul at minus 560 here. He'll probably win it, but it is only probably. I mean, Fucsovics has got a fabulous record against top 20 players in majors. He's one of these players that I've talked about before, Senego and all these other guys that show up for majors. He's certainly one of those. If you look at what he's done against top 20 players at majors, he's won the opening set in 12 of his last 17 matches against top 20 players at majors. 71% of the time, he's won the opening set. And of the 5 sets that he didn't win, he lost 4 of them in a tiebreak. The only top 20 player to win an opening set against Fucsovics in a major in his last 17 matches without needing a tiebreak was Novak Djokovic in the quarterfinals of Wimbledon. I think it was 2019. And only 3 of his last 18 matches at majors against top 20 opponents have finished in straight sets, and 2 of those were against Djokovic. So you won't find many on plus 400 underdogs that have got a record like that. I know he's 33. You could probably argue that his best days are behind him, but his stats are still very good on clay. The head-to-head is old. It's probably not that relevant now. I mean, Fucsovics was favourite in both of those matches in 2020 and 2021. In fact, he was favourite in all of them. It was a little bit of some way ago, but just for the record, it is very heavily in favour of Fucsovics, 109-91 in favour of service points won and return points won totals. Tommy Paul only winning 43% of second serve points. So Fucsovics should have that in his memory. That's the only way that it's relevant, really. It's such a long time ago. Tommy Paul, very different player now. But he's not a player that just glides effortlessly through the opening rounds of majors. As you said, he lost the opening set to Muller, who's got a very peculiar technique. He would have probably taken a little while to figure it out. He's one of the only players on tour that runs around his forehand to hit a backhand. Very peculiar style, so perhaps no surprise that he didn't win the opening set there. But if you look at the last 3 clay swings at main level, there's not much in it in terms of the service points won and return points won totals. Paul 104, Fucsovics 102. If we look at the last 2 clay swings, again, it's that just a 2-point gap. Fucsovics 104, Paul 106. So it's not. This isn't a minus 560 plus 400 match, really. I think the reality is with Fucsovics, you've always got to worry about 2 things. One is his injury situation, which is often questionable. And two is the mindset. I mean, it tells you everything. As I said, he's won the opening set the vast majority of the time against top 20 players, but he's gone on to lose the match far more often than not. But what we're interested in, what I'm interested in, is how fast he starts against these guys. So the odds might have changed on this. I looked at this a little while ago, but he was plus 210, Fucsovics, to win the opening set. That is, if that's still available, and that is where I'm going to go here, or take the over 35.5 games at minus 112, I think it was earlier on when I looked. That's the area of attack here. I would rather take a bigger price with Fucsovics because he is a little bit flaky, but he has talked about how he's in a really good place. He's got his team here, his family here. He's in good fitness, good health. So I think if you get a good day here from Fucsovics and a slightly sort of mediocre day from Tommy Paul, this could be a lot closer than the odds suggest.
Yeah, definitely a lot closer. Those prices are still there at Bet Rivers. They've got 36 different markets. The order of play is not out yet for day number 4 in the French Open, but we do know the action starts at 5 a.m. Eastern time. So get across to the Bet Rivers app, download the app, get across to the website, and make sure you get those bets on early. 30 different markets on Tommy Paul against Marton Fucsovics. Our next match is Jiri Lehecka up against Davidovich Fokina. Lehecka leads 2-0 on the head-to-head. They've never met on clay before, so that's a little bit of a chance for Davidovich Fokina. Minus 130 is the price for the Frenchman, plus 106 for Lehecka. The spread here is 2.5. And the total is 38.5. As I say, the head-to-head is in favour of Lehecka. The last time they met was in the Davis Cup in 2023. It was a 7-6, 7-5 match, which Lehecka come through. And at Queen's Club, on grass, Lehecka won 7-6, 6-3. So out of the matches, no drop set for Lehecka yet. And 3 long sets. Games could be the angle here. First set overs. What are we looking at?
Yeah, these odds, I'm just looking on the Bet Rivers website here. These odds have definitely changed since I first looked at this. My initial thought was Davidovich Fokina was a little bit short here, and that's probably why the odds have changed. It's probably corrected itself a little bit. The head-to-head was on, as you said, on grass and indoor hard, where you would probably favour Lehecka, but 108 to 92 in favour of the service points won and return points won totals. I know there were tight matches, but he probably should have won a little bit easier with those stats. He's actually held serve 92% of the time, Lehecka, against Davidovich. Davidovich only winning 28% of return points, which is very, very poor indeed. Obviously, this is going to be a very different match on clay. But even so, there's not much in it in terms of their clay stats. Certainly not enough to make Davidovich the price that he was when he was initially put up. Last 3 clay swings at main level, Lehecka, better win rate, 56%, and a service points won and return points won total of 102. Davidovich, 53% win rate and the same total of 102. So nothing much in it there. A slight tweak, if anything, to Lehecka, certainly not for Davidovich. If you look at what they've done against the current top 20 on clay at main level, again, Davidovich only slightly ahead. Better win rate, 44%, and a service points won and return points won total of 97. Lehecka, 38% win rate and 96. So again, very close set of statistics. Their record at the French Open, Lehecka's only played 4 matches, but he's got service points won and return points won total of 98.1. Davidovich, 99.6. So all the stats suggest that it should be closer than it originally was. Davidovich was like 1.5 something, 1.58 or something when this was originally put up. So he's moved quite a bit. There's a couple of leans. I was going to go for Lehecka on the money line potentially, but that's too short now. Plus 106. He was much bigger than that before. I think this has got long match written all over it. I mean, over 38.5 games. When I looked at that earlier, was 1.89 minus 112-ish. Looks like slightly shorter now. I think this has got long match written all over it. Davidovich managed to go 4 sets yesterday against Llamas Ruiz, having, I think he served for a straight sets win. He was certainly well ahead, should have won it 3-0. Typically with Davidovich, he never does anything the easy way. Had to end up winning it a bit of a struggle in 4, ended up playing almost 3 hours. I think it'd just be overs. I'm tempted to go over 4.5 sets here. I could really see this being unless one of them has a bad day, I could see this being a very close encounter. Anything over the totals is probably where I go here.
We know both of them mentally questionable,
Yeah,
especially Davidovich Fokina. So
both really.
yeah,
Yeah,
it does. It looks like a 5-setter. It looks like a long 5-setter, 36.5 over 2.5, over 3.5 sets. Sorry, head across to the Bet Rivers app. There'll be loads of markets in there. Remember, if you are betting on the Bet Rivers app, you'll be able to live stream this match to your tablet, or your mobile device, or your laptop. So you've got loads of interest on that. Now, unfortunately, there's only one member of the Cerundolo family left in the tournament. It's Manuel Cerundolo, and he's up against Hamad Medjedovic, and the two of them played here in qualification in the 2023 French Open. Medjedovic won 2-1 in qualification back in 2023. He's the favourite. He's minus 190 to beat Cerundolo's plus 150. Spread is 2.5, and total again here is 38.5. Cerundolo probably had a little bet of his brother, so he'll go further. He's picked up the big money, plus money winner there. When he pick up a plus money winner here against Medjedovic?
I wouldn't rule it out. I really wouldn't. This is a classic matchup, this, of the power hitter in Medjedovic against the grinder in Cerundolo. I just wonder if Cerundolo could grind him down over a long match. I mean, Medjedovic is very inexperienced over 5-set matches. He's only played one, which was at the US Open against Marijan last year, and he struggled physically in that, ended up losing it in a 5th set. I mean, without sounding mean, he's not the fittest player on the tour, Medjedovic. He seems to struggle physically quite a lot, and mentally he has an awful lot of ups and downs in his matches as well. He's very prone to kind of emotional outbursts, a little bit like Rublev in some ways. Perhaps not quite as spectacular as Rublev, but very similar. You know, he can get put off mentally often. If you look at that French Open meeting in qualies in 2023, Medjedovic only won 35% of his second serve points, and he only won 6 more points in the match over 3 sets. So it was very, very close. And he hit 55 unforced errors that day compared to 47 winners. And that's what you get with Medjedovic. You know, it's boom or bust. It's in or it's out. That's it. That's how he's playing. Whereas Cerundolo, very, very much more measured player, likes to construct his points, doesn't rely on the raw power, mainly because he doesn't have it. But he was very impressive on first serve against Mickelson in the first rounds. Really, really good straight sets win for him. We got the wrong Cerundolo, didn't we, on that particular day? The other Cerundolo, by the way, was blaming the fact that he was on a small court for his dreadful loss to Diallo. I'm not sure that's. He said he couldn't, because the court was so small, he couldn't move. He couldn't move around enough to play on it. But anyway, this Cerundolo, as I said, very, very impressive indeed on first serve against Mickelson. 82% first serve points won, which is unheard of for Cerundolo, for this Cerundolo. He doesn't, he's certainly anything but a big server. That's usually the weak part of his game, but seemed to be having much more pop on his serve. And the longer this goes, the more I would fancy Cerundolo. I'm quite tempted to sort of Dutch the 3-1 and 3-2 here. I haven't got the prices in front of me on the set. This is set betting. I'm not sure the money line. If you can get to a situation where you bet 3-1 and 3-2 and it works out decent odds, that's where I'd go here. I feel like the longer this goes, the more it's going to go in favour of Cerundolo. More the fitness element and the stamina element will come into play, and that is the one area with Medjedovic where, for me, he's extremely questionable.
I'm just trying to look at the Bet Rivers website now and see if I can find.
I've got it here.
3-1 and 3-2. Have you got it? I've got it here. Let's have a look. What we got: 36 different markets available on the match, and
6.75 for each.
So that's 750. So that's about 3-1.
Yeah, that's where I'll go here. It's one of them where Medjedovic, if he's going to win this, you feel like he's going to win this 3-0 or 3-1, and he's going to have one of those days where he's hitting more winners than unforced errors. But if it goes the other way, I would certainly favour Cerundolo in a long grind. Yeah, definitely.
Our final match. Now, I talked you into a bet last show, and I told you that I bet this one early, and unfortunately, we're on the same page, but I was the one I'd made it official bet. This is a one that I've got to get involved in again here, and I'm, trying to redeem myself, get back into it. But I'm loving the plus 170 Sebastian Ofner to beat Khachanov, and I love the 3.5 as well. I want to get with Ofner in lots of different markets here, and Bet Rivers gives us the opportunity to get with him. He's in absolutely sensational form of Ofner. He's playing at the Austrian, playing in his favoured surface. It's going to be a horrible day, damp, wet, potentially. It's perfect Ofner conditions up against Khachanov. And they met, a week ago now
Hmm.
in Geneva in a quicker clay court where you would have thought Khachanov had his opportunity to win it. Ofner won in 3 sets, lost the first set 6-4, and then won the next 2 sets 6-4 in the quarterfinals, made his way through to the semi-final there. And there's been no respect paid for them with the price of plus 170 with Bet Rivers. It was bigger, and there has been money for the Austrian here. But Khachanov minus 215 is no value for me. 3.5 is. There's so many markets with Bet Rivers that I want to get with Ofner here, and hopefully you're in agreement.
I think I would be if it was over 3 sets. I think the thing that concerns me about Ofner, I'm prepared to be. I'm always prepared to be talked into things, as you know, Nigel.
No, I don't want to talk you into it because my record when I talk you into things isn't that great. So just come to your own conclusions, and then we'll go from there.
I mean, it's roughly the same price. He was priced up 2.73 plus 173 for that match in Geneva. It was very tight, 102 to 98 in terms of service points won and return points won totals that particular day. But Khachanov made a lot of errors, which you wouldn't really expect, and I don't think he'll do that this time in a Grand Slam. He's another player that tends to show his best form at Grand Slams. Khachanov. He hit 35 unforced errors to only 15 winners that day in Geneva last week. Ofner 35 winners, 34 unforced errors. Obviously, it's harder to hit winners over the best of 5 sets on a slower sort of sea level conditions. If we look at what Ofner's done since coming back from quite a long term injury, his form has been excellent in all matches that he's played over the last month, which have all been at main level. Some have been qualies at main level. 79% win rate, service points won and return points won, total of 104. Now, if we just isolate the main level matches only, still very good. 102 service points won and return points won total, and holds of serve 90%. Although he has played in places like Madrid and Geneva, which kind of skews that a little bit. What really worries me about Ofner here is the amount of tennis he's played since he's come back. 14 matches in a month against only 8 for Khachanov. I think if you're betting Ofner in this one, I think he's got to win it in either 3 or 4. I cannot see him winning this in 5 with all that tennis in his legs against someone who's so physically strong as Khachanov. So I might be tempted 3-2 Khachanov here. That is potentially one angle. It just if it wasn't for the fact that Ofner's played so much tennis and has had such a long break, he talked about the mental fatigue in his match against Struff, which he said himself he should have won it in straight sets. Ended up dropping the 3rd set. Ended up having to go 4. I'm just worried about his legs. That's what puts me off. I'm like you. If you based on the Geneva match, I'm sort of thinking, well, plus 170 is pretty decent. If you're not worried about fatigue, then I'd probably take that. But I just think over the best of 5 in slow conditions in a long match, I would be tempted with Khachanov to win it again, either 3-1 or 3-2 here. For me, Ofner's got to win this in straights or a quick 4.
I like Ofner. I don't like. I never rated Khachanov on a clay court. I think he needs it quicker, and the conditions tomorrow aren't going to suit. And I think that's going to be a massive anti. I know he's adapted to clay at the beginning, but when he first come on the scene, I opposed him on clay in almost every match he played, and very profitable at the time as well. I just think Ofner's an informed player. And at plus 170, I'm gonna have to play that. I'm gonna have to play the money one. But listen, whatever you decide, good luck. Whatever you do. They're our 4 matches we are previewing for Wednesday's matches over in Paris. You can follow my action here at Because We Win on our socials. Before I leave you, Sean, what are the official plays for tomorrow?
Yeah, I think the outstanding value is on Fucsovics to win the opening set against Tommy Paul, which I believe is plus 210 chance for Bet Rivers.
Yeah, that's our one only official play. Tommy Paul against Marton Fucsovics. We're going to go for Fucsovics to win set number 1 at plus 210. Download the app. 38 different markets available. The action starts at 5 a.m. Eastern time, so you've got plenty of time today. And if you want to get up early tomorrow to catch it, if you do have a bet with Bet Rivers, you can watch it as well on your laptop and your computer. Loads of content coming here. Betting Weekly Tennis Live, Monday through to Wednesday. Mitch, Dustin. We've got today, I think we've got Tim and Rory Giovanni. So the team are involved in there. Betting Weekly Tennis Live, Betting Weekly Hardball, Betting Weekly Fast Break. The American team headed by Doug Kazarian have been in good form as the NBA playoffs continue. We have Betting Weekly Live today. Rory Barlow and all the team, and Steve Wiss and Dan Rowe Roebuck are all looking at all the sporting action, particularly soccer. It may be off season in Europe, but there's action in South America and also across the world. And also myself and Sean will be back tomorrow with Betting Weekly Game Bet Match when we look at the final second round matches when I return back from Paris to London tomorrow. Flying visit for me. That's it for today. As I said at the top of the show, please hit that subscribe button. I did ask if we can get to 9,000 subscribers before the start of the French Open. We did that, and we are now move now towards 10,000. So if you're enjoying the content, I know the winners haven't come yet, but they will do. If you're enjoying the content, please hit the subscribe button, please hit the like, and give us your comments, give us your thoughts on these matches. And that's it for today. Sean, hopefully you don't get too many nasty surprises tomorrow with the car. And hopefully everything's all right for you. Enjoy your rest of your day, and we'll catch you again tomorrow here on Betting Weekly Game Bet Match.